And when the snow is flying up north, farmers around Yuma, Arizona are busy harvesting produce. The area is known as the winter lettuce capital of America.
You know, we took a look at some seafood options on the Carolina coast earlier in the show. If you had to pick your favorite seafood, what would it be? Well, salmon along with shrimp and tuna take the top 3 spots in popularity with American seafood consumers. And our Sharon Profis says that one special recipe for salmon will give you a flavor option you may not have thought about.
Salmon is one of my go-to weeknight dinners, so I'm always looking for ways to jazz it up. Lately, I've been making a basil pesto topped salmon, and I love it because it comes together really quickly. To get started, we'll make a fresh pesto. There's no reason to buy it at the store when you can make it yourself so easily. But one of the greatest tips I ever received was that it's best to hand chop all of your ingredients. When you run a pesto through a food processor, what you normally end up with is a paste, and that's not really what you want. You want it to have a little bit more character than that. So we'll start with a whole bunch of fresh basil. Salmon is one of my favorite dinners. It's full of protein, vitamins, and minerals, so it really fills you up, but it's also one of the best sources of omega-3 fatty acids. And those are really good for you. So go ahead and chop your basil until you get a really fine mince. At this point, I'm also going to add a little bit of fresh flat leaf parsley. These herbs go so well with salmon. And now we want to add all of the other things that make a pesto so great. We have garlic, lemon zest, lemon juice, and of course, Parmesan cheese. So you can add as much or as little garlic as you want, but 2 garlic cloves for a batch is usually perfect. You want it to be in the background. You don't want it to completely take over. The hard part is over. We have all of our garlic and herbs chopped. And now let's add our lemon zest and juice. Anytime you add lemon to a sauce or a paste, what you're doing is brightening up the dish. And not only that, in this case, the lemon juice will also help the pesto keep longer. So you can keep it in the refrigerator for about 3 to 4 days. And you can use it in so many different ways, not just with salmon. You can top pasta with it. It's great with roasted vegetables. I love it as just an all-purpose condiment. So we'll do the zest of about half a lemon, and we'll add just about half a tablespoon of lemon juice. And now we'll add about a 1/4 cup of freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano. And I like to add a little extra when I'm making the salmon dish because as the cheese cooks, it gets a little brown and creates a little bit of a crust. And then we'll add our nuts. Now, traditionally, pine nuts go into pesto, but you can get creative and have fun with it. In this case, I have ground almonds, but I've made pesto with walnuts before. Anything you have on hand will taste really good here. I also just love the pairing of almonds and salmon together. Now we'll add a little freshly grated pepper and plenty of olive oil. In this case, I'll end up adding about a cup. And you can just mix and check for consistency as you go. It's really not a science. Pesto is all about how you like it. That's why I love it so much. Now, because the Parmesan is so salty, I'm not going to add any additional salt. So at this point, we're done and we're ready to top our salmon. I have here 4 6-ounce salmon fillets. Now, you can buy salmon steaks, which are great for grilling, or you can buy whole salmon, but I love fillets because they cook really quickly and they've got a nice, rich flavor. Now, when you're picking out your salmon fillets, the most important thing to look out for is that they're fresh. And the way you can test for freshness is by the way they smell. So if they smell like fish, they're probably not fresh. But if they smell like the ocean, they're perfect. And once you bring them home, you want to cook them within 1 to 2 days. They're best really fresh, right from the market. So before we top them with the basil pesto, I'm just going to give them a dab to dry off the flesh. This will help the pesto really adhere to the fish. And then it's really simple. Just go ahead and spoon the pesto right over the fillets. This is such a beautiful dish. And it's a real crowd pleaser too. You can cook up a whole bunch of these and serve a large dinner party. When you're cooking salmon, here's a little rule of thumb. Cook it for 10 minutes for every inch of thickness, and you'll know it's ready when the flesh flakes easily with a fork. Now put these under a low broiler for about 7 to 10 minutes until the fish is completely cooked through and that top is a little browned and crispy. This dish came together so quickly. That's why I love making it on weeknights. And it goes great with pasta, or in this case, I have roasted potatoes. We'll just plate it with our potatoes. And to really brighten up the dish, I love topping it with cherry tomatoes, just right on top. With all the nutrition that salmon has to offer, this makes for a great light and healthy dish. Now all that's left to do is eat.
The ability of American farmers and ranchers to tailor their production to meet changing tastes and demands says a lot about the entrepreneurial spirit that you'll find in the heartland. Introducing new varieties of existing crops or using cropland to try something completely different. Our Kristen Simoes says that's part of the story for one Wyoming farmer who saw fine wine in his future.
Harvesting wheat on a sunny July day is just what you might expect to see in the rolling hills of eastern Wyoming. But look again and you'll find another crop that's not perhaps typical in this wheat, barley, and corn growing region. Wine grapes.
Definitely at the very beginning, people thought we were a little nuts, if you will.
Patrick Zimmerer is one of a growing number of vintners expanding America's wine growing and bottling options. Since 2001, Patrick's been growing grapes and operating Table Mountain Vineyards northeast of Cheyenne, Wyoming. It's part of the country that can get up to 3 feet of snow each winter.
Compared to grapes being grown in California, Europe, or some of the traditional